At home today, Ontario Superior Court has handed a major setback to a small group of Canadian families of the victims of the airliner shot down by Iran 3 years ago. Now, the court says the families cannot seize Iranian assets in their fight for compensation. It was the downing of Flight PS752 3 years ago that killed all 176 people on board, 85 Canadian citizens and permanent residents. Ashley Burke has been reporting on this story throughout, and this was Ashley's reporting coming out late last night. So tell us more about what this Ontario court ruling accomplishes really in blocking this group of families, Ashley.
Well, Heather, this case started because there was a group of 5 victims' families who wanted compensation for what happened. So they took their case to civil court, and they won. Last year, an Ontario judge awarded them $107 million plus interest from Iran. But this was a default judgment, which meant Iran didn't participate in it. So the problem is, how do you get that money from Iran when they didn't even recognize this court case? Well, the lawyers representing these victims' families, they've been trying to find assets in Canada that belong to Iran's government to seize. And they've located 3 properties here in Ottawa and several bank accounts at Scotiabank and at Royal Bank. And they went to court and they said, look, we want to seize these assets to get this compensation. And the federal government was involved in this case. They issued a certificate saying, look, this court does not have the authority to grant the families this power, that this is up to the federal government, and that they have determined that these properties that the families identified, they are property of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and they are protected under international law. Even though Canada cut ties with Iran more than a decade ago, it still enjoys, the judgment said, it still continues to enjoy its privileges and immunities. That's the government's argument. So the judge did decide, did side with the government on that point, but also said that there were some inconsistencies in the government's position that they would have to explain.
Is there any reaction from the families at this point to the decision, Ashley?
Well, this isn't sitting well with this small group of victims' families, and the lawyer for them issued a statement last night saying surviving family victims are entitled to an explanation from the Government of Canada as to why it continues to maintain that the Iranian property is diplomatic property when there have been no diplomatic relations between Canada and Iran since September 2012. Now, we're expecting a response from the government today. I spoke to a lawyer who is an expert in sanctions who reviewed this judgment, and he says that the Canadian government, well, it went back to the basic foundation of international law, and that is that it guarantees countries authority over their territory. He said that otherwise, if Canada had taken a different position, it could have put Canadian assets abroad at risk themselves, and as well would mean the government relinquishing some control. Right now, it's the one issuing sanctions, it's the one freezing assets in Canada and pursuing this case with other countries, hoping to take it to the International Court of Justice.
Ashley Burke in Ottawa.